County Collector and Presiding Commissioner. Tonight's event is sponsored by the University of Missouri Extension, St. Genevieve Community Access Television, which can be seen on stgentv.com, and the St. Genevieve Herald newspaper. I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. It's a great crowd for Candidates Forum, and also thank the candidates who are running this year, and also thank the VFW Hall for allowing us the use of their facility. My name is Toby Carrig. I'm the editor of the St. Gen Herald, and I'll be serving as a moderator tonight along with Tish Johnson of the University of Missouri Extension in St. Genevieve. Just to let you know, and there will be a rebroadcast of the event that will be shown on St. Gen Community Access Television, probably beginning on the weekend or so, and they'll run those before the August primary takes place on August 5th. We're going to start tonight with the candidates for County Clerk: Sue Wolk, Joe Follert Jr., and Cindy Kurtz. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening introduction, and then they will receive questions from the panelists, the moderators, and they will have 1 minute to respond to each of those questions. At the end of that segment, then each will have 1 minute for a closing statement as well. The questions are known. Sorry about that. The questions are known only to Tish and myself, and have not been given to the candidates in advance. So we hope to get to as many questions as possible. We've allotted about 30 minutes for the offices, maybe a little extra time if needed. And we'll begin tonight with the opening statements from the County Clerk, going in ballot order, starting with Sue Wolk.
Good evening. My name is Sue Wolk, and I'm running for St. Genevieve County Clerk. I am a lifetime resident of St. Genevieve County. I'm the daughter of Doris and the late Adrian Bowman of Zell. I've been married to Brian Wolk. Many people know him as Pickle for 24 years. Together we have 3 children: Brandon, 23, Dylan, 19, and Riley, 14. I'm a 1989 graduate of Valley High School, and I attended Jefferson College. I'm a member of the Democratic Club, and I belong to various other organizations. I have 24 years office experience and a strong work ethic. I've worked as a deputy in the county clerk's office for 6.5 years. Currently, I manage payroll and human resources, and I have experience in all aspects of the county clerk's office. Prior to working for the county clerk, I worked for 18 years at Farmers Insurance Group and was licensed in property and casualty. My experience in established relationships from my time in the insurance industry has helped me save thousands of dollars for the county. For 23 years, I own and operated Precision Construction with my husband. If elected as clerk, I would change the payroll process to bi-monthly instead of monthly as it is today. I believe this would be a great benefit to all employees without creating any additional cost for the county. As county clerk, I would also ensure that all employees in the county clerk's office are well trained and understand all the duties involved in the county clerk's office. Well-trained and experienced employees will help the office run more efficiently. I believe that my experiences in the county clerk's office over the last 6.5 years, as well as my previous experience serving the community, makes me not only very qualified to be the next county clerk, but also the best candidate. I would appreciate your vote on August 5th. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Joe Follert Jr. I grew up in Bloomsdale. I'd like to thank the sponsors for taking the time to put the forum on, the VFW for the use of the hall, and everyone for coming out tonight. This is probably one of the larger ones I had to sit in front of. So anyway, my background, I was a graduate of St. Gen High in 1971. I've been with Mississippi Lime Company for 41 years this past February, and in that capacity, president of the Steelworkers Union with Mississippi Lime for 24.5 years in the office there. I'm also an executive board member for the Missouri AFL-CIO for the last 20 years and state rep from 2007 to 2012 and candidate for state senate in 2012. My previous elected offices with the state has prepared me to do this job, dealing with committees, managing the Missouri House, dealing with tourism, transportation, and elections. While the clerk's office has many important functions, elections is the most important one to me. If elected, I plan on working with the schools and other groups to improve registration, look at ways to increase voter turnout, not just report expectations, and one by promoting elections, especially off-year elections and special elections, to improve turnout. My job history with Mississippi Lime, the international, state, and local union positions, along with community involvement, also make me a competent candidate to manage this office. Voting is a constitutional right, so let's continue to improve the turnout, enhance registration, and let's keep it safe and simple for voters. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Hello and good evening. My name is Cindy Kurtz. I'm a Democratic candidate for the county clerk's position. I'm a lifelong resident of St. Genevieve. I graduated from Valley High School in 1981. I'm the daughter of Laverne Vaith and the late Austin Vaith Sr. I am married to Jeff Kurtz. We've been married for 28 years. We have 2 children, a son, Justin, who's married to his wife, Brenda, my daughter, Kelsey Kurtz, and my granddaughter, Elena Kurtz. I have worked full-time in the county clerk's office for 19 and a half years. I started working in the office in March of 1995, serving as deputy county clerk. And then in 2008, I began serving as chief deputy county clerk. I am at this time seeking this opportunity to serve as your next county clerk. If I am elected, I plan to implement some ideas that I strongly feel are for the betterment of the community. I believe that cross-training the employees in the office is very important so that we are readily available to serve the public at all times. I also plan to implement bi-monthly payroll for the benefit of the employees. I am and have been committed to prompt and courteous customer service relations. I am confident that the office will be run in a respectful and fair manner. And when funding is available, possibly through various grants, I hope to be able to purchase updated technology to aid in the election process so that the elections can continue to run smoothly and efficiently, but while spending your tax dollars wisely. And I would like to emphasize that I will be open to ideas, comments, and suggestions from the community on how our office can better serve you. I served on the St. Genevieve County Health Department Board of Directors for 4 years. And I just want to say thank you.
I think having a police officer keeping time tonight is going to make things a little more strict than usual. But we thank Jason for being pressed into service because the arrangement here didn't quite allow Toby and I to do that. Thank you very much, candidates, for those opening statements. We usually like to start out with sort of a general question. And so what particular experiences or skills qualify you to serve in this office, particularly as compared to your opponents? We'll start in ballot order, and then thereafter we'll rotate that. And I have a little chart there if we get lost. Sue, would you please take that?
Well, I believe my experience that I've have, working at Farmers Insurance for 18 years, that has helped me tremendously in this job because I have a lot of connections with people in the insurance industry, in which I've said before in my speech that I've helped save the county thousands of dollars on health insurance as well as the property and liability insurance. So, with working in the clerk's office, I know how the office runs, and I feel I'm very qualified.
Okay, I think I mentioned it as I opened in my statement that my experiences in the Missouri House on the Elections Committee, for one. Some of the other committees were Fiscal Review and House Accounts and Administration, where we manage the entire operation of the Missouri House from that committee. Give me those types of experiences that I think are valuable. The past 24 and a half years, I've worked in a single-person office, managing the affairs of the local union and bargaining and negotiating with Mississippi Lime. I've done about 7 contracts since being president and several before that, so I think I have the office and build experience that it takes to manage the office, and look forward to working with these guys.
Okay. I feel confident that my years of service that I've had in the county clerk's office puts a good foundation for me to be able to transition into the position of county clerk. I've handled the elections for the 20 years that I've been working there. I just basically know the daily duties that our office requires, and I feel confident that I am, there for the public whenever they need something. I, am readily available to help them with whatever they need, and I'm just feel like that I am qualified because of my years and because of my experience in the office.
Okay, thank you very much. Toby?
Sure. Two of you have talked about changing the payroll to a twice monthly format from the current monthly format. According to reports that we had done in March 2013, the payroll structure was set up an election of the employees that Kay Bosler had conducted as county clerk. I'm just curious, what has changed that you believe the payroll should be changed to a monthly format, and should this be a top priority for the office? Starts with Joe.
Oh, sorry, yes, Joe.
Okay, well, since I wasn't in the office, but I do know that this issue had been brought up before. Back several years ago, we tried to organize the road workers before they were with the group there now, and they were the ones that brought it forward. In 2013 is when it came up. I don't know what's changed then, but it was something that I thought I would look at also, but I also didn't make it a top priority to office. My priority was to improve election registrations, because I know for a fact that it hasn't been going on. My grandson, we had to register him personally this year. They used to do that at the high schools. My guess is we're losing about 50% of the high school graduates to not being registered to vote by not taking part in the schools programs, and then expanding it out into other venues such as nursing homes, fairs, and such, to register as many people as we can. I took that as a bigger priority.
Cindy?
Yes, I've been working close to 20 years, and it took a while for me to get used to being paid once a month. And I realized the hardships that it can cause to have to stretch a paycheck out over a period of a month. And I know some of the employees have requested it. It was something that was brought up back in 2006 when we did have a new clerk running for office, and that it wasn't fulfilled at that time for whatever reason, but I feel like that the bi-monthly payroll could easily be implemented in the office for the betterment of the employees.
Since I handle the payroll in the office, I actually suggested to the clerk, Kay Bosler, a couple years ago that I think, we could very well, do bi-monthly, because it would definitely benefit the employees and without any additional work on my part. And we did the survey, and the survey was, from what I believe, it was done a couple years ago, and it was split about 60-40. It was very close. And I just think, if that were my husband working for the county, I think only getting paid once a month would be, that would be something hard to get used to. So, and I think the majority now would be willing, to want to go bi-monthly.
Thank you. I actually have a separate question for each of you. We're going to let Toby take a little break here for a minute. Based on the statements your statements that appeared in the St. Genevieve Herald. And starting with Ms. Wool, I know you talked about your top priority was the payroll, but then you talked about that you'd like to investigate the purchase of poll pads for all voting precincts. And I didn't know what that was, so I looked it up. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, what those are and what it would cost us and where we would find that money?
Okay, well, we actually got to try out, they're actually, if anyone's familiar with iPads, that's actually what they are. And we actually used them in the election, I want to say last year. We used it in North and South Precinct. And the poll workers were so excited, and how easy they were and how excited they were to use them. And I, mentioned something to Kay, and, she said, well, she did say she was going to check into prices, but I don't think we ever got any. But definitely it would really depend on the price, because I'd want to know what funding is available or what grants are available before I would actually pursue that.
Okay, have you talked to any other counties about their poll pads? Or?
We have not, but I know personally there are several counties that are currently using them, and they love them.
Okay, didn't count. I asked follow-ups. That's all right.
And I'd like to add, if I could, I don't know if that was still continued, but it's so efficient the way when you go to vote, you actually sign the poll pad, where versus right now you have a book that you sign, a paper book, and this you sign and you can verify your address. It's linked to like our voter registration that we have in the office. It would limit the calls to the office to verify, if someone was registered, because it's all at their fingertips.
Okay. Mr. Fallert, your second priority listed in the Herald profile that caught my attention was you said you'd like to look into using part of the budget to increase voter turnout.
Yes.
Talk a little more about that. What do you have in mind?
Well, I don't know what the budget is until we get in, you get in there, but I'd like to look at a small portion of the budget for advertising and promoting elections, instead of talking about and putting an estimate out right before the election that based on absentee ballots and voters coming in ahead of time, but now there could be a little bit of early voting, but base that on, let's advertise the election, let's promote the election, and let's get more people out to vote, and that ties into registering more people and promoting it so that it isn't just based on, here's what we expect. Let's raise that 20% to 30% or 40%, and if there's a little bit of money that we can educate people a little bit in the paper, it may not be much, but by advertising it and promoting the election, especially special elections and off-year elections.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Kurtz, I know we talked about the semi-monthly payroll. You said that you'd like to cross-train employees so that everyone's fully knowledgeable about the everyday tasks within the office. Does that not mean that people would be spending a lot of time doing things that's not their job? And how do you see this working, and how does it benefit the operations of the clerk's office?
Well, my biggest thing is, like Sue mentioned, she is the payroll clerk. And, in the event of her being ill or needing to be absent from the office for, say, a month or two, it just puts our office in a position where who's going to do the payroll? And that's been my goal since Kay's been in office, for someone else to learn that process in the event, because there is no guarantee for tomorrow. And I just felt that that was important, that something, and someone else learns the payroll process, someone else learns the accounts payable process, that everybody knows each other's duties. I don't like it when someone has to walk into the office and they have an issue with maybe insurance or payroll or any other thing that involves payroll, and we're not able to fulfill. I feel like their time is as valuable as our time, and we need to be able to service them with their needs when they walk in the office. And I just feel cross-training is just one of my main goals, that way everyone is familiar with everybody's job.
All right, thank you, candidates. Toby?
What do you believe is the biggest challenge for the office, and how do you intend to tackle that? And we'll begin with...
let's start with Sue.
Well, I would say the biggest challenge in the office, right now, it's running pretty smoothly. I can't think of anything that's been a challenge since I've been there. I was new to elections when I come in the office, And we had elections the first year I was hired in 2008, and everything was running smoothly, and I really don't have any, challenges in the office.
Mr. Fowler?
I think the biggest challenge in the office, which I'm not in there now, and I think I said in the newspaper that I'm not saying the office doesn't work well now, but there's always room for new experiences and new ideas to come into an office and to look at things and look at different efficiencies and see if it can work better. That's like I mentioned in the paper, I said nothing's perfect, which leaves a lot room for an improvement even in a perfect world, because things change and people change, and I think that's the biggest challenge for the office. No matter who wins the election, is the transition from Kay Bosler to a new person running the office and how the staff works together.
I do agree with Sue. We've both worked in the office. We've been doing the jobs. We've accomplished what we needed to. We work on the processing for getting the elections, set up, and then that everything goes smoothly during the election process. Like I said, I think my biggest challenge will be that everyone knows everybody's job, that we can cross-train, and that we're there to serve the public.
Okay. So the county clerk has an important role to play in preparing the county budget. The county commissioners make the final call, but the county clerk has a lot of input into that process. What changes, if any, do you think, or adjustments need to be made to the county budget? And I kind of skipped around here a little bit, so Ms. Kurtz, let's start with you this time, then we'll go to Ms. Wolk and then Mr. Fowler.
Okay, I really don't foresee any changes in the budgets other than, if we've got the money in place, then we can go forward and budget as appropriately for that year. I personally feel like some of the tax dollars that are being spent for mileage maybe could be addressed. Maybe we could be using county vehicles versus our own private cars to go back and forth to meetings. That could be maybe a budget item we could look into. Other than that, the offices, from what I've experienced, just have been really putting in budget items that they feel are necessary for their departments.
I believe the process we have right now is working well. When I came there in 2008, Kay came to me and asked for assistance in getting the budgets and the financial statement computerized for her. So I was able to get them in Excel, and where it totals everything for her, and that made it a lot more efficient for her, and she was real happy with that. As far as the spending, I agree with Cindy on the mileage that we pay people. I believe that if there's a county vehicle available to drive to a meeting, we definitely need to be using the county vehicle versus your personal vehicle where you have to be reimbursed for mileage.
Well, not being in the courthouse right now, that budget question, but my background from through the steelworkers or through the Elks as treasurer, while their budgets aren't near that size, the capacity to process is similar. What we did in Jeff City with budgets for the last 6 years when I was up there, I wasn't on the budget committee, but as I mentioned earlier, I was on fiscal review, which dealt with legislation that had budget items that we were supposed to review, and we either determine if it was appropriate or an inappropriate expense, and we could actually kill the legislation at that point. So my experiences there and my other jobs, I feel like I have a background that I have an open mind, and I know what's a legitimate and appropriate expense, and then we can work from there.
With two of the employees in the office currently on the ballot for this position, how would you ensure, if elected, that the office would run peacefully for the next 4 years?
Who's that?
I'm sorry. Let's start with Mr. Fallert. and then Ms. Kurtz and Ms. Wolf.
Well, like I just said earlier, when you asked about the challenges, I think whichever face ends up walking in the office that morning is going to have some challenges dealing with personnel issues. That was one of the things I've done for the past 24 years with the steelworkers, dealing with employee issues, dealing with management, and trying to make things work smoother between the employees and the company. Also on the House Accounts and Administration Committee, we managed the House. We assigned offices, we assigned committees, we did all that stuff where you had to have time to work with people and make sure that everybody was on the same page, and I had very few conflicts in most of those issues.
Ms. Wolf, please.
What I would do is, I believe if I'm elected, there will be a very smooth process, and I think we can all put this behind us, and we will all get along again. And, I think we can put everything, like I said, behind us, and everything will be just fine.
I do have to say, though, I feel like there is a good working relationship in our office. I mean, we go in professionally, and it's a working relationship, and that's what's important. And I feel like come August 6th, whatever happens on August 5th, we'll just go in on professional level and conduct our office business the way we need to conduct it, and things will be fine.
I've got a few questions left, but I'll try to package things into one question to kind of finish out on. I've been contacted by people who want to know different things about the clerk's office in terms of how will you find ways to save taxpayers money, or is there something that can be done with the office hours that would help people who have to work 9 to 5 and can't make it to the courthouse during business hours? So I'm just kind of curious if there are any ideas that you have that would be in those areas, or just different ways the office might run under your leadership.
Let's start with Ms. Kurtz.
Okay, well, right now the office is open at 7:30. If you want for an hour for lunch, then the office is open at 7:30 and we close at 4:30. But if anyone needed anything past 4:30, 5 o'clock or 5:30, would be more than willing to stay past the time to service them whatever they needed.
Ms. Wolf?
And I would agree the same thing. If someone came in and said they were on their way from work and they wanted to come vote, I would be more than willing to stay and accommodate their needs. Right now, that's kind of how Kay ran the office. If someone needed something and they were running late, and we would definitely stay if asked to accommodate their needs.
Similar to my other jobs, there's no really set hours. While the hours are 7 to 3:30 or whatever. We had a meeting with the truck drivers the other day at 5 o'clock in the morning and still stayed till 3:30. I think that would be one of the new things that I talked about, is new perspectives in the office and new ideas, is to look at people and take their suggestions, and if we need to set up certain days or certain hours, or just on a case-by-case basis, set aside time. But again, it comes with new ideas and new experiences from outside of the office that bring in a different look on how things work and maybe could be more efficient.
And we'll go with closing statements with, who do you want to start with?
With Ms. Wolf. Full circle.
If elected, I know under my leadership, the office would run very efficiently. I have a strong work ethic and would expect the same from my employees. I have well-established working relationships with the other elected officials, which I feel is very important in being successful in this position. I'm very excited to have this opportunity to be your next county clerk. I would appreciate your vote on August 5th.
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. But Overall, I'd like to thank all the voters of St. Genevieve County for their overwhelming support for the past several years as state rep and in my campaign for state senate 2 years ago. It was really appreciated, and it was an overwhelming show of support. I think my experiences in Jeff City and leadership positions with the steelworkers, working with Mississippi Lime and the community, have given me the experiences necessary to perform the duties of the county clerk. I ask that you entrust in me the same confidence and support you have the past 8 years and vote for Joe Fallard on August 5th.
I feel that I am an excellent candidate for the position of county clerk based on my nearly 20 years of service with the county, my work experience and understanding of the daily operations of the office. My knowledge and qualifications presents me the opportunity to be able to transition into this position easily. I would be honored and privileged to serve as your county clerk. Your vote on August 5th is sincerely appreciated. Thank you for your time and for attending this evening.
All right, thank you, candidates. Let's thank our candidates this evening.
Elector, and these are the, as Tish mentioned, candidates who will be on the Democrat ballot at the August 5th primary. Also, just to let you know, we did want to introduce other candidates who are here this evening, even though they may not have contested elections. I'll just read down the list of the candidates who will be on the ballot on August 5th. And that's Associate Circuit Judge Tim Inman. I'm not sure if he's here this evening. He is there?
He is.
Back there. You can stand up if you want. Wait. We do have both candidates who will be on the ballot in November for Circuit Clerk. Diana Grass will be on the Democratic primary ballot unopposed in August. And there will be a write-in candidate, Marvin Pete Papin, I believe is here tonight. We'll have our presiding commissioners on stage next. And I don't know if Kenny Williams is here this evening or not. He's the Republican candidate. He'll be on the ballot in August and again in November. Prosecuting attorney up for election this year, Carl Kinski, is running unopposed. He's not here tonight. Recorder of Deeds, Peggy Yemnitz. Thought I saw her. There she is. And Treasurer Judy Thomas. And we'll begin with Phyllis. It's 2 minutes for an opening statement.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Phyllis Vessel. I'm currently serving my second term as the St. Genevieve County Collector. I served as Chief Deputy County Collector for 30 years. I have worked for 3 different collectors, Muriel Doyle, Joyce Okenfuss, and Jim Gettinger. Being one of 10 children, I learned at a very young age that if you work hard, you're honest and dependable, that you will be rewarded. You will feel the gratification that comes from doing those things. I know the previous collectors saw that in me and kept me working for them. When I was elected to finally become the county collector in March of 2007, I felt that gratification. I worked hard for many years to obtain the title of St. Genevieve County Collector. That is why I do not take the position for granted. I believe that is what you, the citizens of this county, expect, and it's what I expect of myself. The collector's office is responsible for the billing and collection of millions of tax dollars, which involves approximately 27,000 accounts. If you have received this week's edition of the St. Genevieve Herald, you'll notice a large list of properties that are being published for our yearly tax sale. This process starts in April and goes on and off throughout the year. When you read about companies protesting their taxes in TIF districts, the collector's office is directly involved with these matters as well. There is the handling of thousands of accounts that are real estate taxes escrowed, many of you may have. This directly affects this office, as we are required to get them to your banks to get those accounts paid for you. In the collector's office, there are approximately 300 statutes that pertain to the collector's office alone. When you are sworn into the office, or any of the offices for that matter, you take an oath to abide by those statutes. We don't always make friends, but we have to stand by the statutes. It's our job, and it's what we're expected to do. I would all... That's okay, I can save the rest for my final. Yeah. And I cut out. God, 2 minutes is not enough.
Good evening. Hi, I am Patty Nager, and I am running for County Collector. I am the daughter of Valentine and late Rose Nager. I'm the youngest of 10 children, 5 sisters and 4 brothers. I grew up on a farm in Zell. I graduated in 1983 from St. Gen, and I've worked with the public for 34 years, 27 years at the old brick house and 7 years at Southbound Fuel. I have been a resident of St. Genevieve all my life. This is my home, and I am at a point in my life I want to give something back to the community. I feel holding this position will allow me more opportunities to become more involved and know the community better. I have an outgoing, friendly personality. I try to always have a positive attitude, and I try to always help people out the best way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We have 2 outstanding candidates, but very different candidates. So my first question is, what do you bring potentially to the office that your opponent does not? How are you different? And we'll start with ballot order, so we will start with Ms. Nager, correct? The other way around. Ms. Vessel, and then we'll go to Ms. Nager in reverse.
Can you tell me that question? Repeat that question?
What do you bring to the role, to the office, that your opponent does not? How do you differ?
38 years experience.
Is that it? Okay.
Yep.
Ms. Nager?
Well, I don't have the 38 years experience, but I do know there's statutes to follow, so that even though I don't have that experience, I would follow the rules as they are said, and I'd be able to confront people and help them with anything they wanted to be helped with and try to make them understand everything.
My question is kind of similar, but just talk about your qualifications, especially in terms of accounting background that may be beneficial for this job.
I always balance like at work, I balanced anything with cash. I did inventory, so I always kept everything equal. So I didn't mess with tax dollars and that, but I did mess with cash all my life.
Ms. Vessel?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It was the question is about accounting background specifically that qualifies you for this position.
Doing the monthly reports, as we collect each month, there's a monthly report that is turned over to the treasurer. There's a yearly report, the annual settlement, which is usually done in March, and that is turned into the state. Keeping track of 3 checking accounts and keeping the auditors happy.
I have a couple of individual questions again. Ms. Vessel, as you've stated, you've been in the collector's office for 38 years, I believe?
Yes.
Can you adapt to changing needs and technologies? And if so, can you give us an example?
Since I was elected in '07, I have, at that time, made a commitment to, we've installed now where credit card payments are done, can be done online, and now at the office at the counter, although that fee that is, the taxpayer has to pay that fee because the county cannot pay that. But, and that has caused really extra work, but it's a daily report we get, but it's a sign of the times. Our youth like to use those cards, so it was something that had to be done, and it's going well.
Ms. Nager, can you tell us what steps you've taken to learn the responsibilities of county collector?
I've been taking some classes, and I know there's always room for improvement, and there's always time to learn, and I'm a fast learner, and I can catch on to everything. And as you take the people that work in the office, take them as a group and make them as one, and you become stronger, and you can figure out stuff and expand with it.
What types of classes have you been taking?
Some accounting classes.
Accounting classes, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Toby?
What changes, if any, do you propose or foresee for the next 4 years for that office?
I see being more one-on-one with the public. You know, let them come into you. If they can't understand something, try to sit down and explain to them so they do understand what's going on, so that they feel when they leave there, they feel like they understand everything. They're not in the dark about anything.
I feel the same way. That was actually in my statement that, you know, I would like to tell the public, because things have happened just in the past year. If someone has a problem, they might go to a different office holder. And I would say to them, anybody, if you have an issue with any of the county offices, don't talk to the other offices. Come to that individual office. We're the ones who have the answers for you. If you have a problem, we are always there to listen and help.
If you had to pick just one thing to complete in your next term, or if elected, and I hope it's more than one thing, but if you had to choose just one, what would it be?
Who's first?
You.
To complete in my next term.
Your first priority.
To get a better handle on our new computer system that we installed in 2012. We still have some tweaks to make. And in another one, we started the process of microfilming all of the tax records back to 1800s. We're up to the 1970s. Right now we're looking into buying a reader for the library, and those will all be on film at the library. So that's definitely in my plans for the next 4 years.
Okay. What would your priority be?
There's always room for improvement, and I agree with Phyllis. I mean, to get better computers, get up to the knowledge, get the first hand on everything, and just every day try to get the better of everything and advance with it.
Do you have any ideas running the office that would save taxpayers money over the next 4 years?
I think maybe there could be a combination of things. Just kind of go out there and see if you could combine stuff together and maybe lower their taxes a little bit somehow. Kind of checking to see how you can combine it.
Say the question.
If there's any ways you could find ways to save taxpayers money in the office over the next 4 years?
You know, the county, my budget as the county collector, it's probably been 12 years ago, the Missouri County Collectors Association established a tax maintenance fund, and those funds are taken from penalties that people are charged when their taxes are late. So we have a fund for our office to use, and a lot of what comes from my budget are the expenditures. Really has saved the county a lot of money by me being able to use that. They basically are down to paying salaries and for paper for the tax bills. Everything else pretty much comes from the maintenance fund.
Any more? Okay. This might be the last question then. I'm going to assume that both candidates are familiar with the state audit report that came out in October 2013 that related to findings in the collector's office in 2011-2012. I'd like to hear your reactions to that report and also how it affects the way you manage the office for the next 4 years. And it starts with Phyllis.
Phyllis? Yeah, that was great to have that splashed on the paper. When the auditors came in, they were in July, July through March 2012, which was when we converted to a 30-year-old system to a new system. And I did get behind, and I told them that, but on bank statements. But on the other side of it, I have a daily log that I keep of what's in the account and what that pertains to. And when they do their exit interview, they were okay with that. So we're all good.
Well, I agree with Phyllis. I mean, she's got it all summed up pretty well. Yeah, that was not very nice to be put splashed out on the page. That there kind of made it really not good.
News.
Yeah, it was news, yes. But yeah, it's just
Anything further to add?
no, not really. I mean, she basically covered
I
it all.
can add something. If the auditors don't find something, they're not doing their job. I've been through a lot of them, trust me.
Let's go with closing statements, and we'll start with Ms. Nager first.
Thank you all for your support and time. I have enjoyed talking to you all and hope you enjoyed your evening. I would appreciate your vote on August 5th. Thank you.
I mentioned this earlier, but I would like to reiterate about, anyone out in the county, the officials understand that we work for you. Never be afraid to come and talk to us for anything. That's why we're there. We're working for you. You should always come and talk to us, call anytime. And I've had a lot of people say, Phyllis, you'll have no problem. You do good work. And sometimes that's the scariest thing of all, because when there's over 11,000 people registered to vote in this county, and the outcomes in our elections are sad. So my last thing to say is that I'm from Missouri. If you would like to see me as your county collector, show me. Thanks.
This evening with the presiding commissioner candidates in the Democratic primary, we have incumbent Gary Nelson and challenger Jean Heil-Adi. Again, that race will be on the November ballot as well, with the winner and Republican Kenny Williams on the ballot at that time. And we'll begin with Gary Nelson having his 2-minute opening statement.
Okay, my name is Gary Nelson. I'm running for re-election for presiding commissioner. Since I've only got 2 minutes, I'm going to go pretty fast. My experience was 35 years in construction. I was able to bring a lot of more efficiency and safety to our road and bridge department. We've cut our workman comp down by tens of thousands of dollars by just issuing different safety methods. As far as my priorities, I think my experience on the school board and having my own business at one time, I know how to handle budgets, multi-million-dollar budgets. My number one priority is to keep the county in the black, working with the other office holders, which we do have good communications with. My second priority is getting all the roads paved. My second, third, and fourth is all pretty close together, but I like to pave all the county roads before I get out of office. Economic development, I belong to 5 different economic development committees or boards. Creating jobs for our graduates and our people that's losing their jobs is one of our top priorities. Working with the Sheriff's Department, we have one of the most respected sheriff departments and sheriff in the state of Missouri. When you go to the county and our county meetings and our state meetings, they envy our sheriff department. And I will work together with Gary Stolzer to keep that strong. And I got 30 seconds left, so I'll just quit now.
We'll get it in later.
We'll get it in later.
Okay, Ms. Adi.
Okay. My name is Jean Adi. I'm married to Dave Adi, and together we have 4 children and 7 our grandchildren. Everybody in our family lives in St. Genevieve County except for our son Kevin, who's a Marine. I graduated from Valley High School and Gradwell School of Laboratory Technique. I currently drive a school bus for Follard's Bus Service and I drive the special needs children to and from school. I was a laboratory manager at our hospital for over 9 years, which gave me time to learn how to put benefit budgets together, operate underneath those budgets after administration decided what I did and didn't need, which sometimes made it tight. I managed employees, I recruited personnel, I wrote policies, I negotiated prices on reagents and laboratory equipment. We had to stay under state and federal guidelines, and every 2 years we had a state inspection. One of the inspectors came in at one time and told us that we were one of the best run labs in the state of Missouri, which we were all proud of. I was elected to the first ambulance board when it started back in the 80s. Currently I'm on the health department. 6 years ago I was appointed to the St. Genevieve County Mental Health Board by the county commissioners, and I serve as secretary. County community involvement is very important. Currently, a couple days a week, I deliver meals from the nutrition center, and that is a great program for our elderly. I am a member of the hospital auxiliary and the VFW auxiliary. As a candidate for presiding commissioner, I have been attending the commissioner meetings and read the weekly reports to learn as much as possible as I can about it. I don't question that I have the capability of doing it after managing the laboratory and being able to put budgets and people and stuff together. I think I would be more than qualified. Things I'd like to see changed on the commission right now is when there's a job vacancy under the commissioners, I feel that job should be advertised so everyone in the county has a chance for that job. Thank you.
All right. So when I think about the role of presiding commissioner, that is not the easiest job. It's a lot of hours, it's a lot to learn, it's a lot to manage, and the occasional angry phone call. So my first question is simply, why do you want to be presiding commissioner? We'll start with you, Mr. Nelson.
I like to serve the community. I moved here over 50 years ago. I'm just love this community. I want to keep it financially sound. I want to keep the people safe. You got to realize the presiding commissioner is a commissioner. You got 1/3 of the vote, so we work as a unit. The 3 commissioners have to work as a unit. The presiding commissioner more or less presides over the meetings. They do belong to more committees and boards than the other 2 commissioners, but our commission goes to the meetings as a unit. We go to all of our county meetings, our economic development meetings. We always all 3 go. So that does take some pressure off the presiding commissioner to the other 2 knowing as much about the job as what you do.
Ms. Heil, why are you running?
Well, I've been a lifelong resident of St. Genevieve County. I love St. Genevieve County, and my husband and I chose to raise our 4 children here. We almost had moved to Mexico on a job he had, but he had me pregnant, so we stayed. I feel as a county commissioner, I could do the job. I feel like since I worked in the lab, it prepared me as a laboratory manager. I'm used to getting complaints from patients. I'm used to getting complaints from patients' families. I'm used to dealing with administration complaints. I'm used to dealing with my employees' complaints. So you have to just sit and listen and try to make the best decision that works out for the people involved. I've a vested interest since I have a family and grandchildren here, and I would like to see our county continue to prosper. And, you know, we have got a great law enforcement, and I'm just proud of what we have and where we live.
I'd like to ask you about the Trogdon Road and the way the quarry and road improvements for that area were handled. Some residents along the road have been concerned about both the presence of the quarry and the road project. I'd like you to start with Mrs. Oddie. Defend how the commission handled the situation or discuss any things you would have liked to have seen handled differently.
I've thought about it. I listened to them whenever I went to the commissioner meetings and sat through. I feel like, you know, those people out there, those residents, they're pushed into a situation they don't want. The county commissioners cannot stop that sand plant from coming in. There were a lot of people that were against having that road paved and widened. I feel that the county probably should have went in, prepared that road the best they could, kept it at the 19 feet that they wanted, but not pave it. let the residents have to go back and forth on that road, let them see what they were going to have to live with the trucks coming in and coming out, and then maybe after 6 or 7 months, maybe they would be more open to letting that road be wider so it would be safer, 20 feet wide at least. You know, that curve straightened out a little bit better. There's a dangerous curve on that road. And I think it's possible that it would have been better.
Well, to start with, there's almost 50 property owners on that road. The vast majority wanted the road improvements. There's about 10% thought if they would fight the road, they could keep the quarry from going in. The quarry was going to go in. The quarry was going to open and produce sand and take 50 trucks below the sand a day out that road. If you ever lived on a gravel road in the wintertime when freezing and thawing, you know that road would have been a total mess as long as it wasn't paved. It would have been very irresponsible to me for the county to turn down $200,000 plus $50,000 a year for maintenance to keep that road paved and in good shape. We wanted to make a wide, 24-foot wide road, but because of a couple more or less bullies on the road, they kind of convinced the other people to have us to keep it only at 20 foot. The sand quarry was paying for it, so we'd do what we could to make it as safe as we could. Safety was our primary concern.
Okay, thank you. I had to choose from my menu here. You both said that you want to keep the county budget balanced. Things are pretty good right now. Sales taxes are up. We saw that in the Herald this week, but so is the cost of fuel. So is the cost to some degree of labor and supplies. So what adjustments are we going to need to make in the next 4 years to keep our county financially strong?
Well, the first of every month we go over, the commissioners, the other two commissioners and I, go over the budget, every budget item. And if we see a red flag, we talk to the office holder where that red flag's at and try to work with them to get spending under control. The budget right now is in a good, sound financial shape. When I took office in 2005, we had to borrow money from the road and bridge to finish out the year in general revenue. That's not going to happen again. We are doing strong. We don't want to have layoffs in the county. If it comes to it, we will. But we got a very flexible budget that we can work with to keep it in the black. If you don't get behind, you don't have to catch up. So that's why we check it every month. We got 32 budgets plus that we go over every month to make sure that we're in the black and we're staying in the black.
Ms. Oddie, in the next 4 years, the budget?
Actually, the next 4 years, I'd like the opportunity to actually see the budget and see what's money sitting there, see if there is any money sitting back in savings.
Do you think there should be savings?
I think you should always have a cushion if you can. Something. You never know. The episode coming up with 911 calls and stuff with everybody getting rid of the in-house phones. That tax is disappearing. We're going to have to figure out some way to replace that tax. I'm not exactly sure how that would be if we put something on the ballot or talk to our senators or our representatives. We'd have to see. But look into things. Solar panels I would like to see put on top of the roof of the courthouse to save energy during the day. You wouldn't have to deal with using batteries to save energy, but at least have the panels there during the day when the workforce is in-house to try to save money from that electric meter going constantly. Anyway, if we find a vehicle or something that would save energy, maybe look into that.
The commission in recent years has had discussions about planning and zoning and even nuisance laws that might regulate things that would take place on property in the county or neighbors' properties in regard to junk cars or animals. However, the discussions have not resulted in action in terms of a nuisance law or planning and zoning. If elected, would you pursue any kind of regulation regarding that property use, or would you advocate against any kind of regulation? Let's start with Mrs. Oddie.
I would like to see some zoning, but as a commissioner, presiding commissioner, I think you would have to listen to the citizens. If the citizens come forward and they would like to see a zoning put into place, then I think the commissioners need to seriously look at that and see about the option of putting it back on the ballot for the voters. But at this stage of the game, unless the citizens of the county speak and say that's what they want, I would not look into it.
Last year, there was a bill in the Senate, state Senate, to give county commissioners more control over the zoning part of the planning and zoning. Unfortunately, it failed. Planning and zoning is a tough issue. People don't want you to tell them what they can and can't do on their property. It's needed in a lot of areas, but a lot of areas it's not needed. And so if the community, if the group of citizens would like to put it on the ballot, you know, we do all the research, we do what we could, but I don't think planning and zoning will ever pass in this county. Is this what I get by talking to people?
Okay, I have a question for each of you. Mr. Nelson, you stated in your piece in the Herald that one of your priorities is economic development, especially jobs for youth, and attracting more industry and jobs. That's a quote. The county hasn't had a paid economic developer on staff for several years. How do you propose to grow the local economy? What's your strategy?
Well, Dick Grimser just appointed a 6-person panel or board for a new economic development committee, which I am on. We've been reaching out for the last 5 or 6 years. I belong to Malta County Economic Development Committee, where we're trying to bring in large groups like a car plant, a railroad car plant, build railroad cars, stuff like that. They're just not moving right now. But with the Workforce Investment Board out of Cape, we've helped 3 small businesses in this community this year in the last 12 months with on-the-job training money, with tax credits. We helped Lucent. We was able to get Lucent Windows a total of $280,000 loans through grants to help Lucent open up. And they're starting to hire more people now. It's the market is still weak for people for getting companies to relocate, but we are trying.
Okay, a related question for Ms. Oddie. What do you think would be some of the most effective strategies for economic development that we should be pursuing in St. Genevieve County? What would you recommend if elected as a commissioner?
I'd like to work with the schools and see about coming up with more technical programs, talk to the businesses and find out what they're needing. Nowadays, kids have to be technically oriented to working with computers, because most of the instruments that you work nowadays are computerized. Just see with them, see with the school, with the industry, what we need and where we need to look and what we need to do about it. I would be, attending I would attend the committee meetings that the presiding commissioners are on as far as economics and whatever committees are set up for that, and do the best I could to try to bring industry into the community.
I'd like to ask, do you believe the county commission operates in a manner that is open and accessible to the general public, and what would you do to promote open county government? Mrs. Oddie.
First, I would like to, one evening a month, I would like to do a commissioners meeting in the evening for the county. The people that work during the day cannot get to the meetings, and if they do have would like to come in and express or talk, they have to take the day off. If we have a want to bring a TIF meeting or have a special meeting, those should be held in the evening so this county constituents can come to the meetings and be there. You know, when a TIF board or a special board is set up, that needs to be advertised before the commissioners pick the board members. And anyone that would be interested in serving on that board, they should have a right to come in and say, hey, I would like to do this. These are my qualifications. And they should, you know, the county or the commissioner should choose one of them if possible.
I'm not opposed to an evening meeting once a month or so. To try it on a trial basis. People knows how to get a hold of us. They call in from work. Everybody's got cell phones now. Probably most of our calls comes off cell phones. And, but here again, we're not hiding anything. So if it would take an evening meeting once a month or whatever to accommodate the public, you know, try a few of them and see what happens. I got 30 seconds left on this. This is an easy question, but you know, you only give us a minute to answer some of these questions. That's just not enough time, especially on the economic development into things, because I was only getting started.
Okay.
No.
I have a question for each of you. Mr. Nelson, what is your biggest accomplishment during your term in office thus far? Your biggest accomplishment, what are you most proud of?
I'm really proud of the road and bridge crew. We got a really good crew now. They're efficient. They do a lot better, safer work. When you walk around the courthouse, you see the improvements. The old county clerk's building now that is, we renovated it, the old jail. That's now the prosecutor's office. We got a law enforcement sales tax passed that was able to keep our deputies once they were trained in our system. Before, we was just a training school for other counties. We give $17,000 a year plus to the city to help with the ballparks. We've never done that before. We give $5,000 to the tourism committee because tourism is a big part of this community. It's very important. Tourism is part of economic development. So with that, we do help with the tourism. And my time's up.
All right. Ms. Oddie, what steps have you taken to learn the roles and responsibilities of the Office of Presiding Commissioner?
When I ran 2 years ago for First District Commissioner, I was going in and attending the meetings and listening, reading what's in the paper, listening to the minutes that were happened from the meeting before. This time around, again, I've been going into the meetings, reading the paper. I had been reading the paper for the last 2 years. For some reason, county government interests me, and I like to see what's going on. Like I said, I'm capable of doing budgets because I took the certification classes and stuff at the hospital. They were always having managers meetings and manager education on how to run an efficient lab. So I think I'm prepared to do that.
Mr. Nelson mentioned a couple of areas where the county cooperates with the city of St. Genevieve on tourism and ballpark maintenance. I think there's also possibly some conversations coming up with 911 charges to the city. And then the city of St. Mary has, I guess, a disincorporation petition that's going on that you guys are aware of. I'd just like you to talk about the county's relationship with the three cities and what you would do if elected to promote a strong relationship with the cities. Yes.
Well, I'd keep things just about the way they are. We help the city with our road and bridge department when they have problems. They need help. We, as I said, contribute to the ball fields, which they've never done before. We work together economic development wise. In 3 weeks, we have a meeting with the city officials and the people Dick appointed to the Economic Development Board. We got 24 businesses signed up already to get a Jobs Ready program started. So if you don't have a job, you can take training and you'll be registered with Sandra Cabot, who is now our economic part-time development person. And if a company wants a receptionist, for example, Sandra will send them a list of all the receptionists available in St. Genevieve for a job. Or if you're a fork truck driver, heavy equipment operator, and once again, you asked me a question, I don't have enough time to answer, time's up.
Mrs. Zotti?
Would you be nice enough to repeat the question?
Basically, how would you describe the county's relationship with the 3 cities, and what would you do to promote a strong relationship with the municipalities?
Probably just, well, I know St. Mary's has a lot of problems. Maybe if we went down and one of the commissioners went down and attended the meetings to see what's going on, to see if there's something we could do to help improve their communication with their board. Bloomsdale they seem to have an excellent alderman and mayor up there, and they seem to work well together, which is very nice to see. Just work with them, you know, like if we have county, like the road and bridge, if they need help, see what we can do to help them.
We mentioned 911. St. Genevieve County 911, as you know, consolidated with St. Francis County beginning in January 2011. Naturally, there were some startup little glitches, but 3 years later, there continues to be some concerns raised by county residents over 911 responses. Most recently, the residents of Main Street here in town did not receive a 911 call about flash flooding, nor does it appear that the 911 center even knew of the situation until they were called by a reporter. So what would you take to ensure that, what steps would you take to ensure that St. Genevieve County residents are receiving emergency services in a timely manner? How do we do this better?
Well, that's the first I heard of what you just talked about. Nobody
I got that out of the paper.
Okay. I just get the paper today, so take that off my time, Jason. Anyway, you got to realize when we consolidated with St. Francis County, the ambulance district and the city both was looking at other places to go, and we could not afford to do 911 by ourselves. So with that being said, we consolidated. It used to be Monday morning. It used to be the fire department, the police, the sheriff, the ambulance, Kendall. Somebody, if not all of them, will be in there complaining about not having the right service they thought they should have. Since we made since we joined St. Francis County, our complaints has almost went to zero. And if somebody does have a complaint for 911, call the commissioners. We'll call Alan Wells, who is our director, and we'll find out what happened. But we can't fix a problem if we don't know if we have one.
Okay. Ms. Oddie, do you have a response?
It's the same. If there's an issue with 911, we need to be able to go over there and ask them, can they research it, find out what happened, see if there's a way we can correct it. If there's an issue with the GPS or in their system, they need to have that fixed. As far as the flooding down on Main Street, it's the first I've heard of it. It's not a good situation because I get phone calls for Bloomsdale tornadoes, and I'm 8 miles away. So the system needs to be fixed a little bit better. So we just need to address that problem and see if we can get a correction so it doesn't happen again.
How would you assess the change in the work hours for the road department and how well that has worked? And do you believe in any kind of flexibility could be applied to other county offices in terms of work hours or work days?
You're asking how the 4-day work week is going? Well, it's going really good. We don't lose as much time mobilizing, taking equipment out to the job and bringing it back at night. We just turned in a piece of equipment we had rented. Last year we had it rented for the same amount of time. We put 52 hours more on it this year than we did last year. So it shows that they are getting more work accomplished in that 10-hour day. It works better for them. Most of them are part-time farmers. They got more time to work on their crops, but it is making our road department more efficient for, as far as we can see, for these summertime hours. Next year we'll probably expand it to go more than 3 months because it has worked out so well.
Mrs. Adi?
On the 4 10-hour days, after the road and crew have been on it for a while, they've adjusted to it, they like it. I think it probably is a cost-efficient way to go because you're not driving those vehicles back and forth, adding miles and using up gas. So I think it was a good choice by the commissioners to allow the road and crew to do that for the summer.
Would you propose any changes that keep county offices open on some of the holidays? I know there's quite a few holidays. I was contacted by some taxpayers and residents concerned about the number of holidays that county offices have. I don't know if you have any interest in changing those to make those more working days. I'll start with Mrs. Adi.
I'm sure the county employees would not be happy if you opened those offices on the holidays. But I guess probably what we could do is we could pull a couple of the holidays back, see how many people actually come on those days. If nobody's really showing up for those meetings or coming in to use those departments, I would say let them have the state and federal holidays that they have. But you know, I'm open to giving that a try and open to not to aggravate the employees of the county, but I think the citizens, the voters, have a right to have the offices open, and all businesses are cutting back on holidays.
Okay, they do have a large amount of holidays, but we don't pay. When you go to the courthouse and the sheriff's office and our road and bridge department, we have good people working for us, and most of them could go somewhere else and get higher paying jobs. The benefits is part of what keeps them where they're at, and having their holidays is a benefit. All of our holidays is either a state or federal holiday, so it's not like we're the only ones doing it. So, I would not want to do anything with the holidays unless we was able to afford to pay them a higher hourly wage. But it works at the end of the year with their days off. It works out where they do all right with their hourly rate plus their days off. So,
Urban Regional Port Authority and has some funding for that project as well over the years. What would you like to see in the future as far as the county's oversight and input in the port development?
Well, I'd like to see it go faster. You can miss a meeting and 3 months later go to one and nothing's really changed because we're working with government grants and trying to get permits from the state and from the DNR and the Corps of Engineers. It goes too slow. Our 3 port members are extremely good port members. Ron Inman and Kathy Waltz and Dave Fligg. They're good port members. It's an unbalanced port board. The port's in St. Genevieve County, but Perry County's got 4 port members. We got 3. So we don't really have the majority vote, but what I'd like to see is it opened for business, and the government quit sitting on some of these permits that it takes for us to open it up.
Ms. Adi?
I'll play the fifth. I don't know a huge amount about the Port Authority. The 3 gentlemen that are our 3 people that are on that committee are all, they were excellent people in our county. They all work hard for the good of St. Genevieve, which is great. But I would probably have to get on the board or attend some of the meetings so I could become more aware of it. The only thing I really know is when I'm at the commissioner meetings, what Gary and the commissioners have shared during those meetings.
Okay. Well, the last question will be that you both were candidates on the ballot 2 years ago. What significant changes have taken place in the direction of the county since that time, do you think? And we'll start with Mrs. Oddie.
Significant changes. I'm not sure if I've actually seen any significant. They're improving the amount of roads of being paved, but it seems like it is pretty much ran the same. I'm not really sure if we had a huge amount in the last 2 years.
Maybe I could follow up before Mr. Nelson answers. Would you say the county is better off than it was 2 years ago then?
We're still in the black on the budget, which is good.
That's good.
We have 4 or 5 more roads paved in the county, which more citizens are happy. There are 2 more bridges. Is it just 2 or 3 bridges that have been built? Hennick was it Misplay? So there have been improvements, but I think those would have happened with this same board 2 years ago.
Mr. Nelson?
So.
I guess one of the biggest things, we've paved about 44.7 miles of road in the last 8 years, and we placed, in 8 years, 4 bridges. We got one waiting to be bid on now, but it's tied up with red state tape in the state. Joe Gettering looked at one yesterday. He's going to try to get replaced yet this year out on the Minot area. So yes, we've made a lot of improvements there. The Sheriff's Department has made a huge improvement with his addition, and it's running as smooth as clockwork. We got Carl Kempsey, the prosecuting attorney, in the courthouse now by renovating the old county jail that was sitting there dormant for about 30 years or better. We got better handicap facilities in the courthouse. We've updated a lot of things in the courthouse that needed updated. And I think a lot of this stuff just goes on and happens, you don't see it, but we've made a lot of improvements.
And closing statements, we'll start with Mr. Nelson.
I'm sorry?
Closing statements?
Well, closing statements is I would appreciate your vote to re-elect me. If I'm re-elected, I'm not going to change anything that I've been doing. I'm going to continue with the budget and working with the elected officials to keep it healthy, along with economic development, road and bridge, and the law enforcement. I would support them 100% as long as they're doing the right thing. And that's what you've seen the last 9.5 years is what you'll get the next 4 years. Thank you.
Ms. Oddie?
All right, hopefully the open forum gave you a better idea who I am. I will provide a voice of reason on the board, be a good listener to all sides of an issue, make well thought out objective decisions with the good of the county in mind. I will treat all constituents and fellow commissioners with respect and fairness. My career and volunteer experience have provided opportunities to make decisions as part of a team, which is very important as a presiding commissioner. As a lifelong resident of St. Genevieve County, I have a vested interest to see our county continue to grow and prosper for your family as well as for mine. Your vote for me as your next presiding commissioner on August 4th would be greatly appreciated. And I want to thank all of you for coming and attending the open forum. It was very nice to see such a nice turnout.
All right, can we thank our candidates?
Channel 7 and 98 TV and web broadcasting are made possible through contributions and donations from viewers like you. Thank you for your support.